Welcome back. Let's talk Frenchies. So, recently, many of us, myself included, unlocked the French Resistance Secret Army, which is a guerrilla squad at BR3 for America. So how are they? Who are they? Well, let's start with that. The unit was formed in November 1942 as a result of the unification of guerrilla detachments of three major resistance movements in the south of France. The Secret Army mainly operated in the southern part of France. Guerrillas specialized in carrying out combat missions behind enemy lines, yada yada yada, the normal guerrilla stuff. So what sets them apart, besides their look, we'll get into that in a minute, is the Meunier A6, which is a semi-automatic rifle with a 15-round magazine. And I imagine if we were to actually get like a French tree in the Allied tree, like a French line, I guess, in the Allied tree, I suspect that this might actually be a detachable box. It looks like a detachable box, but I don't know enough about the gun just in real life to know whether it is. It looks like it should be detachable. But at least for the guerrillas, it loads through stripper clips. And to be fair, assuming that it is detachable, I think it kind of makes sense for guerrillas to load it with stripper clips, because stripper clips are so much more accessible and readily available and preparable than magazines. Magazines are more of like a specialized thing. So the rifle itself is doing 12 damage at 10 meters. It's got a muzzle velocity of 800, fires at 350 rounds a minute, 5.4 reload time, shot deviation of 33, vertical of 88, horizontal of 24, as I mentioned, 15 round magazine, 4.2 kilos, and it fires in semi-auto. So it's a nifty little rifle. It comes with a bayonet, which is always nice, and it also has the, like, I guess French pattern sights. So for those of you who have never used the Moroccan squad with the Berthier rifles, the front sight post is notched. So where normally with, say, an M1 Grand, you have a ghost ring and then you've got like a trident sight on the front, or with, let's say, a Car 98, you have a rear sight and a front blade, and you put the blade between like the V of the rear sight. You get the idea, right? With these French rifles, they have a rear sight post, and they have a front blade, and you still line it up the same way, but that front blade is notched, and basically you put your target inside that notch. It's kind of a neat way to aim. Sometimes it feels like it gives you more visibility. I don't dislike it. It's just different, and it might take a little bit of getting used to, but effectively, you aim the same way you would with any other rifle. I mean, you line up the sights and bang. As far as the squad themselves, I think they look pretty cool because they come with these free French armbands, and perhaps the best part is that they all come with jeans. You can get them in various different colors, but at least mine usually default to one of the two, like, blue colors. They've got like a lighter blue and a darker blue, and then they've got their little caps. You can swap them out with proper helmets, and you can change the color of their jacket, but generally speaking, there isn't a ton of customization. They're guerrillas. They're supposed to look like civilians. I believe they came with the Meunier. They came with Browning high powers with knives, and they came with explosive packs and medkits. So because they're guerrillas, like in classes, they get more ammo for their primary weapon. Now, there's no way to swap the order of their weapons, same as the premium squads, which is a little bit undesirable, but it's fine. They do get a second weapon slot, and I have mine outfitted with AP mines. They have flasks. I can't remember if they came with the flask or not. They might have. But the Browning high power is pretty nice. I think they all came with TNT, and I replaced the TNT with mines. So, generally speaking, I give my guerrillas 3 AP mines, 1 AT mine, and 1 guy with TNT. And then most of them have the throwable TNT packs. I think I gave one of them a grenade, or maybe he came with a grenade. I'm not entirely sure which. And because I'm playing them at BR3, I gave their second weapon the 1928A1 Thompson. However, this would depend entirely on where you're going to play them. They have options, so if, for example, I was going to play them at BR5, you can give them T20 rifles, you can give them M2 carbines, you can give them 1928 A1 Thompsons with the 50-round drums. So you do have a lot of choices. And it really comes down to how you want them to operate. Generally speaking, just jack of all trades. If you're going to play them at BR5, I'd probably split them between M2s and T20s. I like M2s close in. I think they're pretty good at assaulting positions. But the T20 is just generally good everywhere. In fact, the T20 is going to be better than the Menier rifle, and this is why I say it's kind of a shame that you can't swap the slot for their starting rifle, because they get bonus ammo for whatever's in their primary slot. It's just a thing that guerrillas get. And so if you could put the T20 there, you would carry a lot more ammo for it. As a result, you're not going to carry as much. Now, they're guerrillas, so they do have the perk where they can pick up enemy weapons, and when they pick up enemy weapons, they basically get full ammo. So that is nice. But how you outfit them is going to depend on the BR that you're playing at, and the role that you want to stick them in. In my case, I felt like they didn't need anything else to reach out and touch people. They already have a semi-auto rifle for that. So giving them an SMG gives them a better ability to assault buildings, trench lines, whatever. And I like the 1928 A1 Thompson. The horizontal recoil is a bit shit on it, but we're running through buildings. We're not trying to snipe people down the road. That's what the semi-auto's for. As far as the semi-auto itself, jury's still out on it with me. If we look at a fully upgraded M1 Garand, the fully upgraded M1 Garand is doing 15.3 damage a shot, which is significantly more. Like, it's not even close. The Menier is doing 12, this is doing 15.3. It's a big difference. And you're shooting at about the same muzzle velocity, 830 versus 800. Fire rate's the same at 350. You're also reloading a lot faster at 2.9 versus like 5.2 or whatever I mentioned earlier. The shot deviation's a bit lower, and to be honest, the recoil doesn't really concern me either way for them. Most rifles, I don't really notice the recoil the way that I would on like an assault rifle, an SMG, or a machine gun. I guess the biggest difference is the 8-round M-block versus the 15 rounds from 3 stripper clips. Now, you can argue that the reload is more versatile on the Menier because it's 3 5-round stripper clips, so you can theoretically interrupt that at any point, or you can reload them in like 5-round intervals at your convenience. So, like, that is a perk. At the same time, the M1 Garand is just bringing a flat 8-round block. It's quick to get in. Yeah, it's like half the ammo, but again, it's quick to reload. And the thing is, it's doing 15.3 damage, and I just feel like that's much more valuable to me. And you're gonna get a similar effect from like the Johnson, or even like a fully upgraded T20. So, it doesn't really matter what BR you're playing at. These rifles are always gonna feel a bit soft. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. So, I'm gonna explain what I was looking at. If you look at them from their squad page, then it shows you the 3 stars, but it doesn't show you a fully upgraded rifle. If you look at them on the guy, like the individual soldier when they're equipped, it shows you the correct stats. So, let me correct what I said before. They do 14.4 damage to the 15.3, which still feels softer. Like, I can feel that I shoot people more, and especially if I'm shooting down the road, I get more just hit marks without downing people with the Minier than I do with the M1 Garand. But it's not quite as significant of a difference as I initially thought it was. That being said, like just anecdotally, my experience with it in the field, it does feel like a softer hitting rifle. That being said, everything else about the reload and whatnot, that's correct. The fire rate is a little bit higher at 380 versus 350, and the recoil stats are a little bit different at 75-20, but the shot deviation remains the same. The ammo capacity remains the same. Yeah, muzzle velocity is the same. So it's just the 14.4 versus the 12 or whatever I mentioned before. I really wish that they would change that. Because if you just inspect them from, like, you're putting squads on and off, I feel like it should just show you the fully upgraded rifle. But regardless, it doesn't matter. As far as my experience using them, like I mentioned, I feel like I have a harder time killing people with them than some of the other semi-autos. Like, I do get a lot of hit markers with them, and I was kind of waiting until I sat down here to actually look at their stats to see if that was why. I wasn't sure if it was just, like, me and I was just getting this feeling and it wasn't right, or if it was actually true. And so, it's 0.9 lower damage. I feel like that shouldn't be as significant as it feels, but the example that I think of is on the last objective in Mountain Pass. You're holding a building and the enemy has to cross a canal, and in my experience, shooting at people from the building there, generally speaking, I get a lot of hit markers on people on the other side of the canal, and I down a lot of people, but I very rarely just kill people outright, and I feel like I get more hit markers than I do actual downs. And you have 15 rounds, so it's easy to get, like follow-up shots, but where in M1 Garand, generally speaking, I'll shoot somebody once or I'll shoot them twice. Like, it depends. Sometimes I'll 2-tap them. I feel like consistently with the Meunier, I 3-tap people. And again, I know that 0.9 damage, now that I look at it, is not that big of a difference, but it feels like a bigger difference. Regardless, when it comes to actually doing guerrilla activities, they do the whole guerrilla thing just as well as anybody else. I don't think that this is a bad rifle. It's just, I think you need to be a little bit more precise and shoot people in the head, or you just need to make sure that you're ready for the follow-up shot that you may not necessarily need with some other ones. Beyond that, as far as running around the enemy backline, it's like playing any other guerrilla. It's a ton of fun. You do have to line break the enemy, but if you get back there, they perform well. Generally speaking, I think that their outfits are pretty good. In Normandy, they have more of like an urban color scheme. They, at least mine, wear like gray coats and they still wear jeans, but I feel like that helps when you're in some of the more like rubble-based areas or like in the industrial map. Battle of the Bulge, they honestly look like they're gonna go out like deer hunting, in my opinion. I mean, obviously they're going to hunt Germans, but, you know, they could just as easily be going out for a normal hunt. And in Tunisia, they just, I don't know, they look almost like soldiers. Not quite, because of their rigging and whatnot, but like the coloration of their outfit's similar. One of the fun things is taking my French resistance and going and fighting in the Pacific. French Indochina shall rise again, I guess. Generally speaking, the way that I would outfit them, I think keeping the high powers is fine unless you've got a strong preference for the Colt 45. I feel like both pistols are interchangeable, they're both very good. I like AP mines. You might like having TNT, however, I think the main drawback to TNT is that you have to sit there and try to lay an ambush and wait, and that's just not something that I'm particularly interested in doing. I prefer my semi-autonomous weapons to the kind that I have to sit there and lay an ambush and wait with. But to each his own. I do like to keep one guy with a TNT charge just in case, because if you do find stationary tanks, they can be good, but generally speaking, I find AT mines to be superior. There are times when I've been tempted to swap some of the AP mines for AT mines, because you really can play hell with the enemy team if you go and mine the roads, and you can make it difficult for their armor to get to the front. That being said, you run into a lot of spawn beacons, you run into a lot of choke points, so there's lots of good places to put down AP mines. I think it just comes down to personal preference. As far as perks go, I pretty much perk them the way that I would anybody else. It's like my preferred style of perking. I like to have medpack usage speed, I like to have run speed, I like to have vitality, and I like reload speed, and everything else is more or less interchangeable. It's nice to have weapon switching time, and because they're guerrillas and they can't carry multiple med packs, it's nice to have the perk that increases health restored by medkit. Everything else though is very interchangeable. They're not using bolt actions, so bolt action fire rate's useless. I don't think horizontal matters unless you really feel like you need it for whatever your secondary weapon is. And you could take vertical, but I feel like reload time, especially with a 15-round magazine coming from stripper clips, is really, really, really necessary. It's probably the most important one on here, besides vitality. Vitality's like self-explanatory, it's just good on everybody. But firearm reload speed, it just feels very necessary. So, let me know what you guys think of them. I think that they're a pretty cool addition as far as event squads go. I appreciate that with the Guerillas, they've treated the tech tree squads, the event squads, and the premium squads all the same. They all get the same format, the same number of guys, the same perks, all that, right? I think that that's the way forward. I would really like to see future assault squads or whatever come out following the same format, where the tech tree ones, the premium ones, and the event squads all follow the same format. Ideally, I would like them all to follow the tech tree format. I just think that this and the way they executed on the paratroopers has been healthier for the game. As opposed to, say, the half-tracks. I felt like the half-tracks were kind of scuffed, only having, like, 4 or so dudes in the squads. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't have had 6. But let me know what you think down below. I'm pretty happy with them. I'm looking forward to what they come up with for other nations. There's lots of either partisan groups or like irregulars or almost special force-esque groups that operated during the war that would fit this format really well. So, we'll see. As per usual, get out there, kick ass, take names, and win your games.